If you listen till the end of this, you'll never chase again. Not her attention, not her approval, not the version of yourself that keeps bending to be loved. What you'll discover isn't about women. It's about the quiet ways men lose their power and the ancient Stoic truths that can bring it back. Because the same mistakes that leave you restless after a text, anxious after silence, or lost after rejection, Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, and Epictetus warned of them centuries ago. They just didn't call them mistakes. They called them attachments, illusions, and chains of desire. Marcus wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." But most men forget that when they meet her. Suddenly the calm disappears. You wait for a reply. You replay her tone. You start explaining, chasing, proving. You think you're being rational, but what's really happening is that you've traded your self-command for her attention. The Stoics said it clearly. The moment your peace depends on another, you are no longer free, and freedom, to them, was the highest virtue of all. So what if every frustration you felt, the confusion, the rejection, the silent pull toward her approval, wasn't random, but a test, not from her, but from life itself? A test of whether you can stand still in the storm of emotion, because that's what Stoicism truly is, not detachment, but dominion, the ability to face chaos and remain whole. Every man faces that battle. Even Marcus did, when the empire betrayed him, when friends turned enemies, when love slipped away. He didn't break, he wrote. He turned suffering into structure, pain into philosophy. He mastered himself while the world fell apart. You're about to learn the same discipline through the 9 mistakes that every smart man still makes. Mistakes that seem small, harmless, even noble. But they are the cracks through which your power leaks silently until there's nothing left but confusion and need. Each of them begins with good intentions, caring, explaining, helping, loving, and ends in quiet self-betrayal. Once you see them, you won't be able to unsee them, not in your words, not in her reactions, and not in the mirror you've been avoiding. So before we begin, pause. Take one breath, because after this, nothing about how you see women or yourself will remain the same. You'll understand why Stoicism isn't about being cold, it's about being clear. Why detachment isn't indifference, it's strength. And why the man who learns to master desire doesn't lose love, he finally becomes worthy of it.
The first mistake, the quietest, yet most costly, is the need to explain yourself. To justify every word, every delay, every decision, as if your existence must be proven before it can be accepted. You tell yourself you're being honest, transparent, respectful, but what you're really doing is seeking permission to be yourself. That's not confidence, that's slavery disguised as sincerity. And the Stoics warned of this kind of self-betrayal long before you ever sent your first overthought message. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." But you, like so many of us, have been trained to explain instead of embody, to clarify instead of command. When she asks, "Why didn't you reply sooner?" you feel that sudden sting, that fear of being misunderstood. So you rush to explain, "I was busy, I didn't see it, sorry, I should have said something sooner." You're not answering her question, you're pleading for understanding. You're saying, "Please don't think less of me." And in that moment, something subtle dies. Not your dignity, but your authority over yourself. Epictetus taught that it is not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. To the Stoics, reaction was revelation. It showed who controlled whom. Every time you rush to defend your intention, you're revealing that your peace depends on her perception. You've handed her the power to define your worth. And once you do that, she stops feeling your presence and starts sensing your insecurity. What she once found mysterious becomes predictable. What once felt powerful becomes pleading. You think you're building trust, but you're building dependence. Because trust isn't built through endless explanations. It's built through consistency. A calm tone, a steady gaze. A man who knows who he is doesn't rush to prove it. Seneca said, "He who is brave is free." Freedom begins with silence, not as punishment, but as principle. The man who doesn't need to fill every gap with words holds a deeper kind of gravity. It's not arrogance, it's equilibrium. Imagine Marcus Aurelius standing before his generals, explaining his every command. He'd lose the room in seconds. Power doesn't explain, it emanates. When you explain too much, you dilute your energy. You trade respect for reassurance. And reassurance is an appetite that never ends. This doesn't mean you become cold or dismissive. The Stoics weren't emotionless, they were disciplined. The wise man speaks clearly once, not to convince, but to communicate. If she respects you, she'll understand. If she doesn't, no amount of explanation will bridge that gap. The goal is not to win her approval. It's to remain unmoved by her misunderstanding. As Cleanthes wrote, "Fate leads the willing and drags the unwilling." When you feel the urge to justify, remember this: you're being dragged by emotion. Step back, breathe, and let your silence speak for you. Because when a man learns to be still, he becomes untouchable. Not in a way that pushes people away, but in a way that draws them closer. Because they can feel he doesn't need them to validate him. He's anchored, not adrift. Controlled, not concealed. So the next time you find yourself explaining every action, stop. You don't owe anyone a story for living your truth. Say it once, say it with calm, and let the silence do the rest.
The second mistake is the chase. Every man has felt it, that magnetic pull when she withdraws her energy, that ache to prove you're worth her time. You call it pursuit, but deep down, you know it's not purpose, it's panic. You start bending your schedule, checking your phone, rehearsing the perfect response. You mistake movement for progress, and before you realize it, your strength has turned into strategy. You're no longer leaving the moment, you're chasing it. Epictetus warned, "When you are offended at any man's fault, turn to yourself and study your own failings." But few men have the courage to do that when the fault they feel is rejection. They'd rather run. They'd rather chase the silence than face their own emptiness. The Stoics understood that the desire for control is the greatest illusion of all, especially in love. Zeno of Citium, the founder of Stoicism, lost everything in a shipwreck. His fortune, his future, his plan, gone in one tide. And yet he said, "I made a prosperous voyage when I suffered shipwreck." Why? Because the loss revealed a truth no comfort ever could. What is truly yours can never be taken. When you chase, you forget that truth. You start believing her attention defines your value. You begin to orbit her emotions like a planet around a sun that doesn't even notice you spinning. And with every text you send too soon, every plan you overoffer, every anxious thought that asks, "Does she still want me?" you confirm to yourself that you are not enough on your own. That's not love. That's dependency camouflaged as devotion. The Stoics would call it a failure of autarkia, self-sufficiency, the state in which your peace is self-contained, unaffected by praise or neglect. Marcus Aurelius faced the same temptation, though not with romance, but with power. When the Roman Senate withheld its loyalty, he could have chased it. He could have begged, persuaded, explained. Instead, he wrote, "Be like the rock against which the waves continually break.
but it stands firm and tames the fury of the water around it. That's what Stoic love looks like. Not the chase, but the calm. The refusal to let emotion dictate motion. You don't beg for her attention. You embody your worth so fully that she feels your absence as presence. You stop running after her, and suddenly she's the one searching for the peace only you carry. The truth is, no woman respects a man who abandons his mission for her mood. The moment you chase, you teach her that she is the center, and the Stoics knew that anything placed at the center of your life becomes your master. You can pursue with intention, yes, but chasing is different. Pursuit has direction, chasing has desperation. One is born from desire, the other from emptiness. And emptiness is what the Stoics trained their entire lives to conquer. Seneca said, "To be everywhere is to be nowhere." Every time you chase, you scatter your energy. You become a ghost haunting her attention instead of a man building his world. So when she pulls away, don't move. Stand. Let her go. Let the universe test you. Because if she's meant for you, she'll return. And if not, your stillness will attract what chaos never could: peace, power, and purpose. So the next time your heart races to follow her, remember this: the man who cannot sit with desire will forever be ruled by it. And the one who can sit still in longing, that's the man who commands the room without saying a word.
The third mistake is one that often hides behind good intentions. You meet her, and something clicks. The conversation flows, the air feels lighter, your walls begin to fall. And in that rush of comfort, you start speaking too soon, revealing too much, too quickly. You share your past, your pain, your purpose, as if handing over your soul will make her see your depth. But what you call honesty, the Stoics would call exposure without discipline. For even truth, when given without measure, loses its power. Seneca once wrote, "Light griefs are loquacious, but great ones are dumb." The deepest things within us are meant to be carried with silence until the right time, until they can be understood. But in your hunger to be known, you forget that mystery is not manipulation, it's respect. Not secrecy, but self-mastery. A wise man doesn't flood a new connection with his story. He allows curiosity to grow roots. He lets understanding unfold like dawn, slowly, deliberately, one shade at a time. When Marcus Aurelius faced betrayal from those closest to him, he didn't spill his anguish into the streets of Rome. He turned inward. He wrote privately. He studied his own reaction. Because the Stoics knew, revelation without reflection is chaos. To speak before understanding yourself is to hand your peace to someone who hasn't earned it. You think sharing everything builds connection, but it builds dependency on being seen, being validated, being comforted. The Stoic path teaches the opposite. Hold your heart with both hands before offering it, for what is sacred should never be thrown to the wind of impulse. Epictetus said, "First say to yourself what you would be, then do what you have to do." When you overshare too soon, you're not saying to yourself who you are, you're asking her to tell you. You turn her into a mirror, and that's a dangerous thing. Because once she reflects something you don't like, indifference, boredom, withdrawal, you start to crumble. You begin editing your truth to win her warmth back. But authenticity without self-control isn't truth, it's emotional leakage. And the Stoics considered that a form of weakness. Not because feeling is wrong, but because feeling without form has no strength. Zeno taught that wisdom is a balance between openness and order. To reveal yourself is human. To do it with restraint is divine. A Stoic man doesn't hide his story.
he curates it. He gives pieces of himself with precision, not as a performance, but as a practice. When you reveal slowly, you create a gravity that draws her in, not because you're withholding, but because your presence suggests there's more beneath the surface. The unknown becomes magnetic. The silence becomes sacred. The truth is, women and people are not drawn to those who tell everything. They're drawn to those who contain something. Mystery isn't the art of manipulation, it's the echo of mastery. The man who guards his inner world shows that he's lived enough to know its value. As Cleanthes once said, fate is the endless chain of causes, each linked to the next. What you reveal too soon can bind you before you understand the consequence. So, before you speak your entire life into her curiosity, stop. Ask yourself, is this honesty or is it hunger? Hunger to be seen, to be understood, to feel connection? All noble desires, but all deadly when they lead you to surrender your stillness. The Stoics would remind you, not every truth must be spoken. Not every emotion must be shared. Not every connection must be deepened. Let time earn your story. Let your silence hold weight. Because the man who can hold back his truth until the right moment doesn't just earn respect, he earns control over his own heart.
The fourth mistake is disguised as virtue. You see her hurting, lost, struggling, and something in you awakens. You want to help. You want to heal her. You want to be the one who finally makes her okay. You tell yourself it's love, but the Stoics would call it attachment to illusion. Because what you're really chasing isn't her peace, it's the feeling of being needed. And the moment you begin to fix her, you lose the only thing that made you strong in the first place, your balance. Seneca warned, no man can set in order the matters of another who cannot arrange his own. Yet that's what you try to do. You turn her pain into a project. You mistake empathy for obligation. You start walking into her storms thinking you can calm them with your love, but storms don't respect love. They respect boundaries. The Stoics understood that pity without perspective becomes poison. They believed in compassion, but never in losing the self to save another. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Be tolerant with others and strict with yourself." It sounds noble, but it's also a warning. You are not here to control her healing. You are here to remain unshaken in her chaos. Think of the men who've drowned in other people's pain, the caretakers, the saviors, the fixers. They begin with warmth and end with exhaustion. Why? Because they forget that you cannot heal what you did not break, and you cannot lead someone who refuses to walk. A Stoic doesn't confuse love with rescue. He knows that every person must meet their own suffering in their own time. Epictetus said, "Do not seek to have events happen as you wish, but wish them to happen as they do." That includes her moods, her mistakes, her misfortunes. The moment you fight her reality, you become a prisoner of it. Imagine Marcus Aurelius standing over a soldier who has fallen to despair saying, "Let me feel it for you." He wouldn't. He would guide. He would listen. But he would never carry another's burden as his own. That's not cruelty, that's clarity. Because the Stoic path is not about controlling the world, it's about controlling the self. You can love her, comfort her, offer her stability, but the moment you try to fix her, you shift from lover to savior, from partner to parent. And nothing kills attraction faster than trying to heal someone who hasn't asked for it. Seneca once said, "He who suffers before it is necessary suffers more than is necessary." When you step into her pain prematurely, you begin to suffer twice, once for her, once for yourself. That's not nobility, that's neglect of your own duty. You were not built to be her therapist, you were built to be her mirror, calm, grounded, unshaken. She doesn't need you to rewrite her story. She needs to feel that yours won't collapse under the weight of hers. That is what breeds trust. That is what awakens admiration. So when she spirals, when she rages, when she doubts herself, don't rush to fix. Don't lecture. Don't plead. Stand firm in silence. Offer empathy, not ego. Support, not salvation. Let her see that you can witness chaos without becoming it, that you can hold space without filling it. Because the man who knows what's his to carry and what's hers to face, that man becomes unshakable. In Stoicism, this is the line between compassion and clarity. You cannot save her from herself, but you can inspire her through your steadiness. Let your peace be the proof that healing is possible. Let your composure be the comfort that words can't provide. The moment you stop trying to fix her, you begin to lead her, not as her savior, but as her equal. And that, the Stoics would say, is love without attachment.
The fifth mistake is subtle but lethal. You meet someone, sparks fly, the connection feels electric, and slowly, without realizing, your world begins to shrink around her. Your gym sessions drop, your ambitions pause, your friends fade. You trade your mission for the illusion of closeness. The Stoics would call this a surrender of duty, of what is sacred, yourself. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Your purpose is your mind, your actions, your mission. When you allow her presence to eclipse it, you are no longer a man moving through life with direction. You are a man orbiting someone else's gravity. Epictetus warned, "First say to yourself what you would be, then do what you have to do." To abandon that path for fleeting attention is to betray yourself. A Stoic man does not pause his life for affection. He does not shrink for approval. He follows his mission and lets others, including her, find their place within it. Purpose is oxygen. Without it, attraction dies, respect fades, and even love becomes suffocating. She doesn't want your devotion if it comes at the expense of your life. She wants your presence, your direction, your groundedness. So, the next time desire tempts you to compromise your path, stop. Breathe. Ask yourself, am I living for her or for myself? Because a man who maintains his purpose doesn't chase. He attracts. He leads. And in that leadership, the Stoic finds his power. Unshaken, unwavering, undeniable.
The sixth mistake is one of the quietest betrayals of self, trying to win her attention when it is not freely given. You see her laughing with someone else, joking, sharing energy that was once yours, and suddenly your chest tightens, your ego flinches. You feel the urge to shout louder, to act bigger, to impress. You think you're asserting value, but in reality, you've admitted insecurity. Marcus Aurelius faced this countless times, though not with romance, with power, with respect, with those vying for his position. He wrote, "How ridiculous and how strange to be surprised at anything which happens in life." A Stoic does not chase attention. A Stoic does not compete for the validation of others. He stands firm, unshaken by external noise, and trusts that his presence alone carries weight. When you scramble for her focus, you reveal the very thing she notices unconsciously: neediness. Real value is quiet, grounded, unwavering. Let her speak, let her laugh, let her drift, and you remain unmoved. You do not act cold. You do not act arrogant. You act anchored. Because when you stay centered in your own worth, you separate yourself from every man who flinches, who overcompensates, who chases. That is magnetic. That is presence. That is Stoic mastery. Seneca said, "If a man knows not to which port he sails, no wind is favorable. Your presence is your port. Your calm is your wind. When her attention wanders, it does not diminish you. It simply tests whether your inner equilibrium is genuine. And when it is, the moment she notices, it is too late. Your steadiness has already become the pull she can't resist. Stop competing. Stop proving. Stop performing. The man who commands presence without striving is the man who never loses." That is the sixth truth, the quiet power of unshakable self-possession.
The seventh mistake is perhaps the most dangerous, yet the easiest to fall into. Allowing her to be the source of your joy, your peace, your sense of self. You smile when she texts. You falter when she's distant. You celebrate her approval as if it were your own. And in doing so, you surrender your freedom. Seneca wrote, "He is most powerful who has power over himself." But when her mood dictates your own, you are no longer powerful. You are enslaved. You live in reaction, not in reason. A Stoic man understands that happiness is cultivated, not borrowed. It grows in solitude, in discipline, in purpose. It does not hinge on another's affection. Imagine a man whose heart depends on a single glance, a single word, a single gesture. Every day becomes a test, every silence a threat, every small disappointment a wound. That is the opposite of strength. That is need disguised as love. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it, and this you have the power to revoke at any moment. Your joy is yours to control, not hers to grant." Epictetus added, "Wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants." True emotional wealth is similar, self-sufficiency. If your peace requires no validation, no approval, no reassurance, it becomes unshakable. Women are drawn to this energy, not because you withhold affection, but because your completeness radiates calm, magnetism, and depth. The more you need, the less you attract. The more you are whole, the more she leans in naturally. So stop making her your sun, your moon, your measure of worth. Stop allowing her reactions to shape your inner landscape. Cultivate joy within. Find discipline in solitude. Let your purpose, your mind, your mission be the foundation of your happiness. And when she comes to add, never to complete. That is the Stoic paradox. The man who builds his own happiness becomes irresistible, not because he seeks her, but because he cannot be shaken by her absence. The eighth mistake is deceptively simple: reacting. She pulls back. She flirts with another man. She questions your ambition. She tests your boundaries in subtle, almost invisible ways. And in that moment, most men lose themselves. Their thoughts race, their hearts spike, their words betray them. They snap, they argue, they justify. And in doing so, they fail not the woman, but themselves. Epictetus wrote, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." Every test she gives is not a punishment, but an opportunity, a mirror reflecting your inner discipline. If you flinch, if you falter, If you allow her behavior to disturb your composure, you reveal that your mastery is incomplete. Stoicism is not about controlling others, it's about mastering the storm within. Marcus Aurelius faced the same challenge, though it came in the form of betrayal, intrigue, and shifting loyalties. He didn't rail against his enemies. He observed. He calculated. He acted only when necessary. The man who responds emotionally is swept away by waves he could have remained above. The Stoic doesn't fight the tide. He stands firm, letting the current prove its insignificance against his immovable mind. Seneca said, "Man is not worried by real problems so much as by his imagined anxieties about real problems." When she tests you, the temptation to react is the imagined problem. The reality is simple. She is who she is, you are who you are, and neither requires manipulation or surrender. Observation, patience, and restraint. These are the weapons of a man unshakable in himself. Do not misinterpret calm for indifference. A Stoic man does not ignore reality, he commands his response to it. He does not give energy to tests that cannot harm him unless he allows them to. He breathes, he watches, he measures. And in this quiet mastery, he becomes magnetic, not because he controls her, but because he controls himself. That is the eighth truth. Composure is power, and restraint is irresistible.
The ninth mistake is the most misunderstood: apologizing for your standards. You want loyalty. You want peace. You want a woman who adds value, energy, and calm to your life. And yet so many men shrink when these standards are challenged. They soften, compromise, or apologize for wanting alignment. They think demanding respect is arrogance. But the Stoics understood this centuries ago. Clarity is courage. Boundaries are strength. Standards are not rigid rules. They are the guardrails of a life fully lived. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." If your mind tolerates less than it deserves, your life will reflect it. To compromise your principles for someone else's comfort is to surrender your inner kingdom. A Stoic man does not demand perfection. He demands consistency with his own values. He knows that to love without standards is to drift without anchor. Epictetus added, "Make the best use of what is in your power, and take the rest as it happens. Your standards are what you can control. Her reactions are what you cannot." Imagine standing firm in the face of opposition, in the midst of desire, in the quiet testing of your values. To do so is not cruelty, not coldness, not arrogance. It is the quiet assertion of self-mastery. You don't apologize for expecting respect. You don't shrink for someone else's chaos. You do not compromise your peace for fleeting comfort. This is not just about women. This is about life, about the relentless discipline required to remain whole in a world that constantly demands your surrender. All 9 mistakes converge here: overexplaining, chasing, revealing too much, trying to fix, neglecting purpose, competing for attention, making her your happiness, reacting emotionally, and softening your standards. They are all forms of surrender disguised as love, affection, or attention. The Stoics called surrender bondage, attachment slavery, and desire the heaviest chain. Each mistake steals a fragment of your freedom until you no longer recognize yourself in the reflection of your own life. Seneca wrote, "Associate with those who will make a better man of you." And perhaps the most important companion you will ever have is yourself. The man who masters these 9 mistakes does not merely understand women, he understands himself.
He sees desire clearly, controls it, respects it, but never bows to it. He stands unmoved amid tests, silent when explanation is unnecessary, anchored in purpose when distraction tempts, whole when affection flows or fades. He leads, he does not chase. He is measured, he does not react. He is principled, he does not apologize. And in that mastery lies the paradox of attraction, the secret the Stoics whispered through centuries. Peace is power. Freedom is irresistible. And perhaps the answer was never to control her, it was to control yourself. To say in every glance, every silence, every test, this moment is enough. This life is mine. This man is whole. The world will continue to challenge, desire will continue to pull, and people will continue to test you. But you, if you remember these 9 truths, if you embody these Stoic disciplines, you will remain unshakable. And in that quiet, steadfast mastery, the right things, the right people, the right respect, all that truly matters, will find you, because you are already complete.